I love it. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. Good morning, Linda.
Good morning, Brittany. Hi, everybody.
Linda, you have a great topic. And while you were talking about it, I remembered that we've kind of discussed it. I don't know if you and I discussed it, but we've discussed it in one of the other lives a little bit. And so I'm really interested to get your take and to kind of just see how this conversation goes today. So why don't you go ahead and start us off with our topic?
Well, it kind of occurred to me as I'm going through Mom's house and her things. She raised all of us. If you weren't 15 minutes early, you were late. And I remember as a kid, I used to think, oh my gosh, she's just so anal about that. And what's the big deal? And she was anal about it, but there was a reason behind that. What she told me and how she raised us was that being on time is a sign of respect. It's a sign of respect for the person that you're meeting. You don't get time back. You can't recover time. You can't make up for lost time. So it's a sign of respect for whoever it is you're meeting. Because think about it. If you're late for a job interview, or if you're late to meet a client, more than likely you're not going to be partnered with them for very long. By respecting their time enough to be on time or even a little bit early, that's a huge part of the relationship, whether it's personal or whether it's business.
It is. And I think this kind of flows into the generational conversation, right? We were taught when you go to an interview, you dress nice, you take a binder, you take a binder, you take a pen, you take your resume with you, you dress nice, and you show up 15 minutes early. You wait until they ask you to come in.
Right.
When we do lives or when we do our lives, we come in 15 minutes early, have a conversation, and then we start our lives. When we're networking, if you're in-person networking, you should show up early. If it's at a restaurant, go get into your place, sit down, get your order ready, show up 15 minutes early, be courteous of what's going on, because if you're showing up while everybody's networking and trying to order in between the networking, because you're running late or whatever, you end up creating that space. And it shows how you show up for your clients.
It definitely does. I think it shows that you respect their time, that you respect what you're there for, which is also very important. It's just, and I'm not saying that there aren't times where there's good reason to not, but, I remember when I was working in corporate, if people were constantly late for work using traffic as the excuse, it's kind of like, well, if you know it's going to take you longer, leave earlier.
Yeah.
Unless it's a horrific accident that happens right in front of you every morning, you adjust, right? So, and think about how you feel if someone is late for something you're doing with them. A lot of times we feel like then we're not important, or, we were important, but not the most important thing. Again, it's a sign of respect. It's a sign of honoring that you take seriously the thing you're meeting about, even if it's just coffee with a friend. And most of the time, friends are pretty understanding. Just be honest with them. Had to stop, I guess my tire's low. Got to get air in the tire. I'll be there as soon as I can. If I even think I'm going to be 2 minutes late, I'm on the phone going, I'm on my way.
Yeah. And I find that when you have that 15 minutes buffer, you can set up the things that you need to set up. You can sit down, you can get where you need to be, and you can set things up. And that kind of comes with timelines. If you have a deadline of this time, this day, and we talked about deadlines last week, maybe the week
last
before?
week or the week before, I can't remember. Yeah.
But when you take that time and you're like, okay, here, I can take this deadline, get it done 2 days earlier, and then you have that time to prepare or to make changes or to, it's done and you can just make some final details. When you go to a meeting or you go to meet with somebody, if you're 15 minutes early, you can take the time to make your calls. Maybe you don't have calls that you can make some calls. You can really get in the mindset of that meeting. If you need to have a presentation or you need to have things, we have a few viewers. Please go ahead and put in the comments. Let us know who you are. We would love to see you. But really, it comes into that space of that 15 minutes gives you time to be present.
It really does. And if you're doing a presentation, if you're going in for an interview, or maybe you're doing a proposal for, putting in a bid for a job or something, if you get there early, then you have time to kind of calm down and get in the zone. If you're late and you come running in, you're huffing and puffing, you're rushing to set up, you don't look like you're calm and pulled together. Now you may end up doing really well, but if they see all of that, they may wonder, number one, is this how you do all of them? It just helps you look more polished, be ready, more professional. And maybe that is a generational thing. That's just how I was raised. That's how my mom was raised. And, she was a nurse, so she worked with doctors, and you didn't keep the doctor waiting. So,
The doctor kept you waiting.
Oh, back in the day, they were pretty good. But, it's just, again, it's that sign of respect. And even if it's not for anything super important, the fact that you've put the person you're meeting with first to make sure that you're respecting their time says a lot. And it's an unspoken kind of agreement.
Yeah. And it's something that gets noticed and appreciated. I always joke because I'm in New Reality. When we have New Reality meetings, I try to get in their Zoom like 15 minutes early. And it always notifies Eileen when I'm there. And she's like, nobody's letting you in.
No, but I'm ready.
Yeah, but I'm ready. And it's really great. And, I shattered my tibia. And so I've had a lot of if we always, I schedule a lot of back-to-back meetings, I schedule a lot of things, and normally I have like a second to run to the bathroom, get back, get my drink, get whatever. And now I'm running 10 minutes behind because until yesterday I couldn't walk there. And so being able to be present and cognitive of, okay, I can't be back-to-back right now because I don't have the time to run around, or I need to maybe before your day starts, get all of your notes prepared for all of your meetings so that you can just flip the pages. And really just taking the time to be present inside of what's going on. I think that's huge. And I really think that when it comes to that time management, or it comes to showing people that grace, another great thing to pay attention to is, when does the conversation stop?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because there is that instance of, hey, I booked an hour with this person and we're really good friends and we just talked for 3 hours. Or that instance of, wow, this meeting went really well and we're 2 hours or an hour and a half into it, but it was supposed to stop an hour ago. And sometimes those are great cases. Both of you didn't have anything afterwards and you can go along with that. But really be cognitive of, hey, I'm noticing that we've been here for an hour. Do you have more time to continue this conversation, or do we need to cut this off so you can get to where you need to be? And that's a great consideration as well. But I think you bring up a huge point with being early, or those different things, really just connecting inside of, okay, we're going to get from point A to point B, and being present to what that time looks like, and understanding that if somebody has to leave a meeting right on the dot, it's because they have somewhere to be.
Right. And I know with a lot of the meetings that I do and with the group I'm in that we do, if it looks like there's engagement and it's going to run over, we'll just hop in and say, you know, we're coming to the agreed upon time to end. And I'll usually say, you know, if anybody wants to continue this, I can hang in for a little bit longer, but if you have to go, that's fine, you know, because we want to honor your time. And the other thing is if you can end early, you know, if you've got a meeting and you're done, you don't need, you know, if it was scheduled for an hour and it doesn't take an hour, you don't need to take the hour. You
Right.
can, you know, that's, you can offer to give the time back, because
Yep.
that is one way you can get that, you know, release that time so that they can move on to other things if they need to. And if they want to sit and talk, that's fine, but you've given them that option. You've given them that choice, and you've acknowledged that you're aware that it's different than what we said, and how would they, you know, you ask them how they would like to proceed. Again, it's very nuanced. You know, most people aren't very upfront and saying, well, you know, you went over and I got to go. Usually they'll just say, I've got another appointment and got to run. But it just shows that you're cognizant that you're not the only person involved.
Yep, exactly. And that, you know, I brought earlier the timelines. If you're showing up early or you're getting something done early, if your plan is to be done 2 days early on a deadline, and you're looking at it 2 days and you're like, holy cow, I've done as much as I possibly can, and this is still not going to be done in 2 days, give them 2 days notice. Hey, this deadline is here. I'm 90% done. I am not sure I'm going to make this deadline. What can we do? How can we adjust this? Can we get help? Can we, like, what is it that we can do to manage? Can the timeline move or whatever? But if you don't plan on having that timeline met 2 days early, then you can't have that conversation when you're looking at an unfinished project.
Right. Like, what additional resources might be available to help meet the deadline?
Yep, exactly.
It turns into planning. And I think maybe that's one of the things that kind of suffered during the pandemic is we were shut down for a while, and timelines and deadlines weren't such a big thing because everything was kind of on hold. And then they didn't know what it was going to look like when it came back. And so I think some of us may have lost that sense of urgency for deadlines, or that sense of urgency to respect someone's time. And I would have thought with the pandemic, I mean, you know, we saw quickly how time became not guaranteed, and it never is guaranteed, but we were kind of face to face with it. And so there's that aspect of it.
See, and I think the pandemic did the opposite. I think for me, or for the things that I had seen, the pandemic really made time go on forever, right? The inability to move, or the inability to go places, or the inability to actually leave your home. When was it going to be where it needed to be? And it made time stretch for me longer than it was needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's where, you know, that's where that kind of, that perspective of, hey, I have all day to sit here and try to get work done.
And suddenly we don't have that anymore.
Right. But it created that lack of urgency. It created that lack of, what is my perspective? And
I
so
think it created a lack of deadline. And I think a lot of our, I think some of our old rules for engagement stayed strong, but some of the ones that we didn't think were important that were kind of got lost because we just didn't have that kind of face-to-face interaction. And then if we were Zooming or whatever, everybody was, we were all trying to be very conscientious of each other. But I don't think we worried about whether we were late or not.
Yep.
And because everybody was just dealing with so many things, but we're not in that space anymore.
Exactly.
And even when we are, we just have to remember that that's probably one of the best gifts somebody can give you is their time.
It's valuable. It's a very valuable it's a very valuable thing to give to people, and it's a very valuable thing to take from people. And so really honoring the space of what does this look like is huge. And I completely agree. Like, where can we be? How can we be? That's phenomenal. And I love this topic. We are coming to an end, thinking of time management. But Linda, I love the way that you're bringing this in, right? Time is culture.
Mm-hmm.
Time keeps you at your peak performance. If you're managing your time and you're doing what you need to do, that's keeping you on task, on brand, and really in a space where people can recognize whether they can lean on you or if they need to make leeways for you, right? Everybody has that friend that's always late. We always make a leeway for them. We come into those considerations inside of the work areas. Sometimes there's people who, if you give them a deadline, they just can't make it because there is an anxiety. There is a disorder around deadlines. There's things that trip them up. So instead of that, you manage it differently. And learning how to bring that into the culture of how can you manage your time? How does that work with your progress? And really mixing and creating that is huge. Yes, we all want to be 15 minutes early. Some people don't. Some people get a kick out of being 15 minutes late. So how do you manage that inside of your culture? If you are somebody who is really, if you're a business owner or in the corporate world, and this is something that is a struggle inside of what you're doing, please click on Linda's QR code, book with her. Let's see how we can bring that into your world and have Linda help you with managing the peak performance of your office. I am always a great time management helper as well. So click on our QR codes, book with us, have a conversation with us. Also, if you loved this conversation, we have several previous 15-minute, 20-minute conversations.
Our time managing is a little off today.
It's really hard to be friends. Have a conversation in 15 minutes that's meaningful and powerful and only cut it off at 15. It's really hard. We don't promise 15 minutes. We just say we're going to start. We tell you when we're going to start. We don't know when we're going to end. The goal is 15.
The goal is 15.
Use those QR codes. Linda, go ahead, say your goodbyes, and I will kick us out when you're done.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you. Have a wonderful Thursday.